The Alberta government is forcing teachers back to work with legislation that invokes the notwithstanding clause. The bill passed early this morning, and in response, the Alberta Teachers Association is vowing to take legal action.
This government's assault on workers' rights has only united us. Teachers will comply with the law, but make no mistake, compliance is not consent. The association will fight this abuse of power with every tool the law provides. Ultimately, what we want to see is the government reverse its decision on invoking the notwithstanding clause against teachers and their constitutional rights.
The legislation has also sparked criticism from the opposition.
We are outraged. We're outraged at this trampling of democracy, and we're particularly outraged because it doesn't solve any problems. They think this is over. It is not over, because last night was the beginning of the end for this government.
Demetrios Nicolaides is the Alberta Minister of Education and Childcare. Minister, it's good to see you again. Thank you for being here today, sir.
My pleasure. Good to see you.
I understand why you may feel your government needs to use legislation to end the strike, but why do you need to use the notwithstanding clause? The teachers are calling this reckless and a historic abuse of power.
Well, the use of the notwithstanding clause was important for a number of reasons. First and foremost, we cannot take another day of our children being out of the classroom. Students need to return to the classroom as quickly as possible. There's an incredible amount of research that's shown that there are serious negative consequences to children academically, socially, psychologically, due to sustained closures. In addition, we have a two-tiered model of bargaining that includes both at a central table level and then at a local level. And we want to make sure that we don't have any further disruption. And so the use of the notwithstanding clause will make sure that students can return to school with no further disruption.
Okay, I understand the legislation though, but again, you don't need the notwithstanding clause to end this strike. You can do legislation. The Supreme Court is going to rule soon, or it's having hearings on the appropriate use of the legislation. This is meant to be used rarely, and increasingly it is being used as a path of first resort for governments. Are you worried? Why do you feel you need to take this extreme step here?
It is a rare instrument, but of course it is a key component of our Constitution, of the Canadian Charter of Rights, and it does, of course, provide the government with the ability to use the notwithstanding clause when they believe that the legislature needs to retain supreme authority over matters of public policy decision. And we believe that this was really necessary because we had requested from the ATA, the Teachers Association, to engage us with enhanced mediation so that we could resolve our impasse. They refused. And we want to make sure that students are returned to the classroom as quickly as possible. Again, I mentioned that we have a two-tiered model of bargaining, which makes things further complicated, but we believe it's necessary in this circumstance.
But it would send a message that you feel the need to use a notwithstanding clause right out of the gate because you know the actions you're taking may violate the constitutional rights of the union.
Well, we've tried a number of different measures. We've been bargaining for about 18 months. There was a proposal that both the government and the union leadership had agreed to. That was satisfactory for both parties, but it was rejected by their members. The union leadership came back and provided us with an alternative proposal, which we subsequently accepted again. That, however, was turned down by their members. The union leadership did come with another proposal that would have added $2 billion to the offer that we had on the table. We asked to move to enhanced mediation to try and bridge the divide, as it seemed that the union was moving further away rather than coming closer. And so it seemed that we were just way too far apart, and we couldn't risk any further delay to our children returning to classroom. That is the ultimate priority in this circumstance, is making sure that kids are back in the classroom where they belong.
Well, you've heard the criticism, I'm sure, Minister, that this from the union, that this won't end underfunding in the classroom. It won't end that what they say is the deterioration of teaching and learning conditions. And I appreciate it. It is rare for a union to reject a deal that the union leadership has recommended or reaches a tentative agreement, but you're using the notwithstanding clause to impose a contract that 90% of the members rejected. That seems like that seems like a potential toxic recipe for what's going to happen in the school system you have to manage when they are eventually back on the job.
Kids need to be in school at the end of the day. This is what is paramount above everything else, is the well-being of these students. There's ample research that has shown that prolonged strikes and closures north of 20 days have measurable and demonstrable effects on students' academic achievement, their social well-being, their psychological well-being. We cannot continue to have a circumstance where students are out of the classroom.
Right.
That doesn't mean we are not working to address the challenges. Indeed, in 2023, Alberta had the highest ever level of population increase in our province's history. There's no question classrooms are larger. There's no question we're dealing with more complexity. We can't address all of these issues through the collective bargaining process, however, but we are absolutely committed to working with our teachers and other partners to reduce complexity in our classrooms and provide more supports to those students who need it.
Look, I've got 2 school-age kids. I can understand the disruption and the effect that it would have, but just as, I know you got to go, but just as a final point, the Alberta teachers are pledging some sort of legal action here. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know what the recourses would be now that you've invoked the notwithstanding clause, but this, again, does not set up for good relations. I mean, where do you see this going from here, sir?
Well, I'm hopeful that we can have productive relations and interactions with the Alberta teachers. We're all working towards the same thing, which is a better educational system for our children. And I think that having the Alberta Teachers Association at the table with us, while we look at making reform to our education system, will be incredibly beneficial. They're on the front lines. They know a lot of the changes that are required in our schools and in our classrooms. I hope they'll join us at the table. Yeah. I don't think getting bogged down in legal challenges is going to do anything for the benefit of our children. And again, that has to be paramount in every single thing that we do. And that's certainly my sole consideration.
Alberta Education Minister Demetrios Nicolaides, thank you so much for your time today, sir. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.